Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. I am joined by Fabrizio Romano the day after the bad defeat in the derby. Fabrizio, how are you? Thank you for being here.
Hello, thank you for the invitation. As always, all good, thank you. Ready to discuss. I know it's not an easy day for Manchester United fans, but let's see how I can help.
Exactly. Hopefully you are here to help, but we'll get straight into the questions and we'll go with one actually surrounding the Manchester derby, a big topic. And we knew this would be a topic with Ronaldo starting on the bench. And if Manchester United lost that game, if they lose any game with Ronaldo on the bench, there's always going to be conversations. But I just wanted to ask you about Ronaldo's future. He didn't get a minute yesterday against City. Ten Hag kind of saying it was out of respect for him, but to United fans and people around, it seems like effectively he is third choice striker. Is he going to be wanting in that move in January? I'm assuming he's not happy in his position at the moment.
For sure, he's not happy. It's absolutely normal not to be happy for the general situation around Manchester United. As we always mention, he's a winner, and so to see the team like this is not easy, and he's not happy to be on the bench. So absolutely. But at the same point, I want to underline again that I'm told, and I was also asked yesterday, how is the situation like in training for Cristiano Ronaldo? And I'm still told that Cristiano is doing his best in every single training session. So nothing has changed between Cristiano Ronaldo and Erik ten Hag or the teammates, nothing. But at the same point, the reality is that he's not playing. I think it's still fair to say that he didn't have any full preseason, and this is, I think, the reason of this decision by Erik ten Hag. But at the same point, I think now, October, we enter into the key moment of the season, of the first part of the season, of course. And it's important to see what happens with Cristiano, because if we'll continue like this, I think in January we'll have, again, Jorge Mendes working to find a solution. So if the situation will continue like this, or let's say if Erik ten Hag will change the situation around Cristiano Ronaldo, will play him. I think it has to change. It has to change if they want to keep Cristiano in January. I can confirm that as of now, nothing has changed on Mendes' side, so he's not actively working now to find a club, also because it's too early for many clubs to plan for January. I think this will happen during the World Cup, so end of November, we will try to understand what happens, not just with Ronaldo, but with all the clubs looking for a potential striker in January. But as of now, it's important to understand what Ten Hag will do in the next game with Cristiano. I think this month is really important to understand what happens and then what happens in January.
From your knowledge, like with Erik ten Hag, is it the fact he just prefers the way Rashford and Martial play? Is it the fact he didn't really mind if Ronaldo stayed? Does he want Ronaldo in the squad? Do you know?
I think yes. I've always been told yes, that Erik ten Hag always wanted Cristiano to be part of the project. But he knows that for a player of his age, he's a monster. He's an incredible player, but at the same point, not having the full preseason is a big issue. It's a big issue because Erik ten Hag always wants player to be 100% fit and ready to have an impact on the game. Rashford is doing very good, apart of the yesterday game, of course, but in general, he's doing very good. And Martial is now back, and as Ten Hag mentioned, he needed some minutes. So I think it's not a technical decision. It's also a physical decision for Cristiano. So I think there is this pre-season issue for Erik ten Hag is really big one. But now, October, you have to change the situation. So now everything will be clear. And also Cristiano and his agents are waiting to see then in November how it will look like and to decide for January.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see everything work out well for Ronaldo at Manchester United. I think a lot of the fans want that to happen. But coming to the January transfer window, we've had a lot of mixed signals around Manchester United, whether they're going to kind of make moves in that January transfer window, whether they're going to wait for summer. Erik ten Hag has made it clear that he would like to go for players. I mean, what manager wouldn't in a January transfer window? Do you think that United are going to ignore that January transfer window and wait till summer? Or do you think if an opportunity does present itself, they will go for that?
I think the last one is the correct one. So Man United will be ready in case there will be an opportunity. Well, I mentioned opportunity. It has to be something big, something with the right price also, because they invested big money at the end of the summer for players like Casimiro, Anthony. So the investment was very, very big. And this is why I think the priority, and I'm told that the priority as always at Man United will be to invest in the summer. So they would love to wait in January and invest again next summer. But at the same point, the reality is that if there will be some opportunity, Erik ten Hag will push to go for that opportunity. I think what happened last year with Ralf Rangnick really disappointed by many chances on the market, on the January market. It was a strange one because usually in January we don't have so many opportunities. But 1 year ago, Dusan Vlahovic available on the market, Luis Diaz available on the market, Julian Alvarez available with the release clause. So many opportunities on the market, and Man United decided to wait. Also some midfielders, because Ralf Rangnick also wanted a midfielder and it was not possible to proceed because Man United wanted to wait also in that position. So I think I'm told that he was really disappointed, and it's public. We still remember what happened in the press conference. Now for Ten Hag, it's really important, and he already told the club that if there would be a right opportunity, he wants Man United to be ready to jump into it and to be ready at the right moment. I think it also depends on the World Cup, because the World Cup will help to see what kind of players maybe will be on the market. I always try to give the example of Jonathan David, for example, who is a great striker. He's always scoring goals in Ligue 1, but many clubs are waiting on him. I think the World Cup is a big opportunity to understand how will be the situation for him in January. It's not just an example for Man United, but in general on many players that can have a big chance, and so in January can become opportunity on the market.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the World Cup is definitely going to be a big one for a lot of clubs when it comes to January. And just a quick one on a summer transfer signing that we wanted to get, but we didn't manage to, which was Frankie de Jong. English reports on Friday did come out and say that United have not been put off by de Jong's public stance about absolutely wanting to stay at Barcelona, and they potentially could continue to try and sign him. How likely is it now that United in the future would move for him again, obviously after everything he said about just continuing with Barcelona?
I think that on Man United side, trying to sign Frankie de Jong is something that is still there. So it's something that they never changed. They spent the whole summer trying to change his mind. And as Frankie mentioned, and this is the reality, as we always said here, Frankie always wanted to continue at Barcelona. And so the reality as of now is that nothing has changed. Frankie de Jong wants to continue there, and Man United are still thinking of Frankie de Jong as the perfect player for Ten Hag. So Ten Hag is the key point on this story. Ten Hag would love to have Frankie de Jong, and I think it's important to say how this season will go. And at that point, at the end of the season, Man United will decide if they want to try again for Frankie or not. But as of now, on Frankie's side, he's still on the same position. He wants to continue there. He wants to continue at Barcelona. And let me mention that I always see in the press about de Jong, Man United and Barcelona, but Chelsea were also there. Chelsea were there this summer. They arrived late because it was not like Man United. Man United started to try like end of May, beginning of June. Chelsea arrived like at the end of July, beginning of August. They started contacts. But it was a race with Man United and Chelsea, with Frankie de Jong saying no. So it's not just Man United, and I think it's going to be a really difficult one because as of now, nothing has changed. Then let's see at the end of the season.
Yeah, it'll just kind of depend on obviously what happens this season with United and what happens with his situation at Barcelona, whether he continues on the bench, whether he's playing. But another name that we were linked to in the summer that I think maybe from my point of view is one that I was gutted a little bit to miss out on. That's Gakpo. And he has been mentioned as a viable option for United quite a few times. He's had a very, very good start to the season. Is United planning to maybe go back in for him? I know he was on the radar in summer, and if he keeps performing the way he is he still an option for Manchester United?
I would say yes. I think it's one of the potential opportunities in January. It's something that is not decided now. So at the moment, there are no conversations between Man United and PSV. And let me say that also during the summer, there were no direct conversations between Man United and PSV. It's something that it was discussed between Man United and the agents of Cody Gakpo because they wanted to be ready on that player as one of the options. And then at the end, they decided to go only for Anthony as priority, but Cody Gakpo was in the list. Is a player that they appreciate. The relationship with his agents is very good because they are the same agents of Ten Hag, and so this is why Gakpo could be one of the opportunities. As we mentioned before, let's see what PSV will decide if they want to sell the player in January or not. Let's see how the World Cup will go for Cody Gakpo. Is a big opportunity also for him to shine and maybe be available on the market in January. But as of now, Man United are always in contact with these agents. Very good relationship, but it's not something that they are discussing between clubs. So it's one of the potential opportunities. We have to see what they will decide to do. Let me say that on Gakpo, there will be many clubs in the race because on deadline day, Leeds were really close to signing Gakpo. It was really, really close, and then it collapsed because of Louis van Gaal tempted the player to stay in Eredivisie and then play the World Cup and then move after the World Cup. But not just Leeds, also Southampton and many other clubs are tracking Cody Gakpo. So if Man United want Cody Gakpo, they have to be fast.
Yeah, and that's why I thought we should have gone for in summer, because after the World Cup, there's going to be a lot of clubs interested. I think he will definitely be playing for the Netherlands, and he looks very, very good. And Louis van Gaal always getting involved in these transfers. But it's the same, really. I wanted to move on with Timber at Ajax. I mean, Ten Hag did initially want him as the player to come to Manchester United, and I do feel like United do need another centre-back in the summer. Would maybe Ten Hag try and go that and do that deal again, or do you think that is closed off now that he signed his new deal with Ajax? Do you think he's a player that he would go back in for? Because you look at Martinez on the smaller side of a centre-back's done really well. Would he go and sign maybe a similar centre-back with the same height as him? Would that be an option for United?
I would not be surprised, honestly, if Man United would try again. But as of now, there is absolutely nothing. It's because, as you mentioned, he extended the contract. It's a short-term contract because it's a contract till 2025, so it's not a so long one that is not protecting Ajax. But at some point, he's doing fantastic with Ajax. He's doing fantastic with the Dutch national team. Players like De Ligt and De Vrij are not playing because Timber is the starter. So I think now he really wants, and I'm told that he really wants to continue with Ajax and with Dutch national team in this way. There is a feeling internally at Ajax that he can become, after Maguire, the most paid player in his position in the history, because now the value, I think, on transfer markets around 45, 50 million euros. But they are convinced that this player could be worth way more than this. They would never accept 40 million euros now for Jurriën Timber. So I'm sure that next summer the price could be really crazy. And let's see if Man United will decide to invest big money on a centre-back or not. Also because they already paid more than 60 million euros for Lisandro Martinez to the same club. And in this case would be basically the same for another centre-back. Would be something really strange. But at the same point, it's true that they wanted him before signing Lisandro Martinez during the summer. He was one of the priority targets, but the player at the end decided to stay. As of now, I don't see it as an easy target, honestly. I think his price would be really high, that the player is fantastic because he can play as right back, centre back. He's doing great job. He's improving game by game. Would be an incredible signing. But my feeling is he will be one of the most paid centre backs ever, and there will be many clubs in the race for Timber.
Yeah, he's been doing brilliant this season. We all knew his capabilities, but he just seems to be getting better and better, absolutely. But it's whether Manchester United will go and spend all that money on a centre-back when we've got other priorities. And one of them priorities for me would probably be a midfielder. And we spoke about Jude Bellingham on the channel before, and he's been linked with Manchester United as of late. And I feel like he's going to be linked with a lot of top clubs. But can United realistically sign those types of players? I mean, Man City, Liverpool, PSG, Madrid, all would potentially be in for a player like that. And we know that Haaland dismissed United quite early on because of the position that we're in. Is Jude Bellingham a viable option for Manchester United when it does come to the summer and a lot of clubs are going to be chasing him?
If you want my opinion, it's really, really difficult. This is my personal opinion. If you want the reality, it's that Manchester United want to try. So they want to try. Yeah. They want to be there. They want to have a conversation with people close to Jude Bellingham and explain them the project. So Man United will try. And I think it's normal. It's also right because it's always Man United, even if it's not a good moment, of course, for the club since long time. But it's always Man United. It's always attracting for many, many players, as Ten Hag mentioned. And so it's normal to have conversations with players. At the same point, as you said, it's not easy because many clubs will be there. It's not just about the money. It's about the project. For example, with Haaland, this was the case. It's about the project. And a player like Jude Bellingham, I'm sure that Man City will be there, Liverpool will be there, and they saved big money during this summer because they wanted to sign a top midfielder next summer. Also, other clubs, Chelsea will go for a midfielder. We mentioned Frankie de Jong before, but let's see if they will go also for Jude Bellingham in the summer. Real Madrid will be there. So it's going to be a crazy race for Bellingham. Let me say that nothing will be decided now. So now we'll have a lot of rumors, a lot of stories on Bellingham. It's normal because it's true that many clubs are moving, but at the same point, nothing will be advanced or decided now because he wants to focus on Borussia Dortmund and, of course, on the World Cup. And after the World Cup, also for Borussia Dortmund, makes sense to wait a bit and then to decide the price tag after the World Cup for Jude Bellingham. And so I think in 2023 we will see, but Man United, for sure, they will try. They will try to have some conversation to explain the project, but I think it's a really difficult one.
That's going to be your big transfer saga of the summer next year, isn't it? I can feel that one coming.
Sure.
It's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. But moving on to a midfielder that we did get this year, and that's Casimiro. And he's not been playing games really under Erik ten Hag. He played a Europa League game, and he's not gone straight into the team like people would have expected. I mean, I wanted to ask you, how late did Casimiro become a target for United? And was it Ten Hag's target? Because I would assume if he would have got Frankie de Jong, he would have gone straight into the team. And I know Ten Hag said that United started winning when he came in, but you saw Anthony come in. You've seen multiple of his signings go straight into the team. So was he an Erik ten Hag signing? And do you think he will eventually be going into that team for Erik ten Hag?
Yes, also on this point, I have two different points of view. The reality is that from what also I was asking about it because I was also surprised, but at the same point, the reality is that players we mentioned, like Anthony, also Frankie de Jong, many others, Lisandro, they know the style of Erik ten Hag. He loves to have players on the pitch who really know his style, his ideas, and Casemiro was already late signing. So this is why maybe in Erik Ten Hag idea, he needs some time. He needs some time to be ready for the ideas, for the tactics he has in mind. So this is why Casemiro is not playing, but I'm sure that this month he will take his place into the squad because he has to play. A player like Casemiro has to play in everything in the world, I think. My personal opinion is a player like Casemiro has to be a starter the day after he's arriving, but this is just my personal opinion. I'm not Manchester United manager, but a player like Casemiro, for me, is always to start. Also, the style of Real Madrid is completely different than Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag ideas. Completely different style, completely different approach, completely different system. So it's really, really different. But I'm sure it's just a matter of time, maybe weeks, maybe days, to see Casemiro as a starter at Manchester United. He's a starter, 100%.
Yeah, he has to be, and hopefully it will be days with that performance yesterday where he didn't start. So hopefully we will see him soon. But moving on to the goalkeeper situation at Manchester United, I mean, there's been reports of Oblak potentially being on the market in January and Manchester United kind of keeping an eye on that situation. Do you think it's possible that United could move for someone like Oblak in January or look for a different keeper?
No, I think no. Honestly, I think no. I don't see Atletico Madrid selling Oblak in January. What I'm told is that Atletico Madrid are still super happy with him. Will try to extend his contract. They are working to extend his contract. It's true that there is interest because it's normal. As the contract is not signed yet, many clubs are keeping an eye on him. But at the same point, I think nothing is happening in January. This is Atletico Madrid position now. And so let's see what Man United will decide on De Gea. This is the first step of the story. Part of Oblak, they have to make a decision on De Gea. It will not happen now, but I think during the World Cup, Manchester United will meet, of course, with Erik Ten Hag, the whole board, and they will make important decisions of players out of contract next summer, like De Gea, Rashford. Of course, they have an option to extend the contract, and so this is why Man United feel protected. But at the same point, they want to make a decision on the goalkeeper situation, and so this is why for De Gea they need to decide, to discuss internally and to decide. But as of now, with Oblak, I see a lot of stories too, but I'm sure that Atletico Madrid will do their best to keep him.
Yeah, I mean, you would want to keep a keeper like that. I think it's I would love to have a keeper like that at Man United, but who wouldn't at the same time? And with De Gea actually on his contracts, do you think Erik Ten Hag he would want to keep De Gea in as his first choice keeper? Because we know De Gea's qualities and he has many of them, but some would say he's not exactly the modern goalkeeper. Erik Ten Hag seems to like the modern goalkeeper. Do you think it could be something that Erik Ten Hag does go and change in the summer potentially?
I think it's an option. It's an option that we have to consider. It's not like De Gea and no other goalkeepers. For Ralf Rangnick was like that, for example. Ralf Rangnick wanted De Gea to be a key player for Manchester United in present and future. For Erik Ten Hag, the situation is still open. So he wants to consider the situation in the next weeks and months. It's not something 100% decided. This is why I think it's an option for Man United to change the goalkeeper in the summer. But it's not something decided yet. They always decide together, Ten Hag, the board. So this is why we have to wait a bit and see. But as of now, it's not a decision like, okay, De Gea is untouchable. And this is why the contract is not extended yet. So I think it's an option for them to change the goalkeeper, but it's not sure yet. I think it also depends on the budget, because to sign an important and modern goalkeeper in the summer, it means to spend a big part of the budget on the goalkeeper, because it's not easy to find that kind of player. It's a Oblak, Pickford. I see many rumors, but it's big price tag for these players, and it's right because they are important players, modern players. But as of now, for De Gea, no decision made yet, and I wouldn't be surprised if at the end they decide to keep De Gea, to continue with him, maybe for one more season, and then to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few players that are kind of on that radar for Manchester United. Are they going to be part of Erik Ten Hag's plans? Are they not? It's clear that Wan-Bissaka seems to not be part of Erik Ten Hag plans. Is he someone that we could see maybe force a loan move potentially in January, or a move somewhere else?
Yes. Wan-Bissaka is one of the players that they want to sell, or maybe to offload in January. They want to find a solution. Also, in the final days of the window, Erik Ten Hag wanted Serginho Dest as priority option in case they received a bid for a Wan-Bissaka, but the Wan-Bissaka situation was really quiet, and so this is why the Dest deal didn't happen. But at the same point, I'm sure that in January they will try again to find a solution for Wan-Bissaka, and then to find a new potential right back to create competition with Diogo Dalot, who I think he will stay as a starter because he's a key player for Ten Hag. But he wants another right back just to create some competition, to have one more alternative, and that's it.
Yeah, Dalot's been doing great. I'm a big fan of Dalot. And lastly, just Donny van de Beek. Everyone was excited when Ten Hag came because he thought he would finally get a chance. Obviously, he's been a little bit injured at the moment, so that might have hindered him. Is he someone that is in Erik Ten Hag's plans, do you know? Do you think he will eventually start to get game time?
Honestly, I think he deserves to play some games to show us as journalists, but also to Manchester United fans, of course, his quality skills. We want to see Donny van de Beek on the pitch. And so I hope that he will have some opportunity. But as of now, what I can say is that, of course, the player is waiting. He wants to play. He's fighting for his place as always. But if the situation will continue like this, I wouldn't be surprised if something could change in January with the player maybe going on loan again, or maybe being sold if they receive the right proposal. So let's see what happens with Donny, because it's still an open situation. I'm not sure that in January he's going to stay, if he will continue to be always on the bench. So I think the next games this month, with many games, will help to understand the situation of many players, including Donny, and then we'll see in January how it will evolve.
Thank you, Fabrizio. Really good insight there, as usual. And yeah, I'm excited to get you back on another show as the rumours continue through the World Cup. But yeah, thank you for coming on, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you as always. See you soon. Thank you for the invitation, and hi to all Manchester United fans. Thank you.
See you later. Bye. Well, everybody, that was Fabrizio Romano on the United Stand, speaking about the rumours of the transfer window coming up in January, and also players at Manchester United, whether they're going to stay, whether they're going to go, and what the futures hold in Erik ten Hag's plans. And I just wanted to get started on talking about the first question that we asked. So I don't know if you were all around for the first question that was asked, but it was an important one because it was regarding Cristiano Ronaldo's future in Manchester United. And despite a lot of rumours that happened towards the start of the season, and despite what a lot of people were saying about Ronaldo, Fabrizio again confirmed that Ronaldo is being the utmost professional. He's trying hard in every single training session to get into the team, and he's getting on with it every single day. He's completely not happy, as a player of Cristiano wouldn't be, but he's training hard every day to get into Erik ten Hag's team and kind of force his way into the team. It is a weird one for me, and as Romano said, we're going to see over the coming weeks what happens with Ronaldo. But with the Ronaldo situation, Fabrizio did seem to kind of allude to the fact that Ronaldo hasn't had a pre-season, and that bothered Ten Hag a lot. And I feel like maybe if Erik ten Hag would have seen Cristiano Ronaldo in pre-season and they would have had that pre-season together, it could have been a massively different story. So on the Ronaldo one, I think it actually is, and that was a good bit of information there. It's very, very important in the next coming weeks to see whether he gets into that Manchester United team, because if he doesn't, it's clear that he's just not in Erik ten Hag's plans, and he doesn't really see him as a viable option for him, and he could definitely be on his way out. But if he does start to get into the team, is that because the fitness has got better and because he's able to establish his tactics onto Ronaldo and kind of work with him in training to get a clear vision of what's going to happen? We know it's so important to Erik ten Hag that players on the pitch know exactly what he wants them to do and knows how he wants them to play. That's why Anthony came straight in. That's why Martinez came straight in. And he had a pre-season with all the players to kind of establish that. Because Ronaldo didn't have that pre-season, maybe he's just taking a while to establish him into his team. I'm not sure, but personally for me, I just think his style of play maybe suits the likes of Rashford or Martial more, especially the likes of Martial, but we'll have to wait and see. Killian says Ronaldo is better than Rashford. As a number 9, yeah, he is. I would completely agree with that. I think Ronaldo gives you something that not any of our other strikers offer. He gives you aerial ability. He's a poacher. And has he been on form? Absolutely not. And a lot of you guys in the chat will know that. I've said personally, I wouldn't have started Ronaldo recently in the way that Erik ten Hag's trying to play, which a lot of the time it is counter-attacking football. So Ronaldo doesn't work in that system. If Ronaldo would have played against City yesterday, it wouldn't have been a different result, I don't think. Maybe we could have nicked a goal off a cross, but we didn't put any crosses into the box. So he just would have kind of been an absentee number 9 on the graveyard shift. At least Rashford's there and he can do the running, even though that didn't really go to plan. So we'll have to wait and see where Erik ten Hag's play style does take us, because I assume if he keeps playing the way that he's playing, Ronaldo potentially might not get in. But if he wants to start playing that possession-based football that we all know Erik ten Hag wants to play, and what he played at Ajax and what he kind of made his name for, then Ronaldo, I think, would suit that system. He would, as a poacher type player, the way that Haller was for Ajax. I definitely think he could suit that system. It's just how long it takes him to get there. I feel like Ronaldo is something that you can chuck into a team that is very, very fully established and a well-oiled machine, and he's working very, very well. Erik ten Hag isn't at that stage yet with Manchester United. So it's kind of the players are learning and progressing to that stage. But Ronaldo, is already at that level where you can just come into a good team and make a difference. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, everyone make sure you like and subscribe as well, because it was a really good insight, that video, into what Manchester United's plans are regarding quite a few players as well that we'll get into. I've seen people looking to make a cross, but Rashford was out wide and they pulled the ball back. Rashford is not a striker, Erik ten Hag. Yeah, I don't think he positions himself very well as number 9 at all. I think he's one of the best in the world at running in behind on the counter-attack and scoring from that position with his pace and making that bending run. But I like to see that happen from the left-hand side as a left-sided forward. As a number 9 to hold up the ball and kind of get himself in good positions in the box. He isn't that. He isn't that. You saw it exactly when the ball went up very high in the air. It felt like it was waiting there for a very long time. I spoke about this on my match vlog if you've watched that. And Ake just is there and he's able to head it away. And Rashford's literally staring like that, waiting. If that's any other number 9, they crash into Ake, they try and get the ball and they potentially win it. So I agree with you guys that I'd like to see Ronaldo as a number 9. I 100% would, but I just don't think our team's functioning well enough for him to kind of excel in it with his capabilities and kind of his strengths as well. We need a proper number 9 like Osimhen or Vlahovic. Yeah, I think the more it goes into the World Cup, we'll start to ask Fabrizio about that more, because I do think we'll be after a number 9 as well as a midfielder in the summer for sure, and potentially even a goalkeeper. Interesting to see that a decision is going to be made on David De Gea. I mean, we all know that. We know that De Gea's future isn't completely set in stone right now, and that he might not have his contract extended. That is a possibility. He's on a very, very high wage that if United extend, it's going to be a similar figure. So maybe they don't want to do that, especially if Erik ten Hag wants to play a different sort of way. And look, I get hate for this all the time, but it's opinions. You just got to deal with it. Everyone's got theirs. And I don't agree with a lot of people's. You probably don't agree with mine half the time, but that's the fact of the matter is. I respect David De Gea and everything he's done for this club. I like David De Gea as a footballer. Do I think he can play Erik ten Hag's possession-based football system? No. Eventually, when it gets to that point, I don't think he can. We saw it yesterday. Again, he looked shaky with the ball at his feet. As a shot stopper, he's one of the best in the world. One of the best in the world. Absolutely. He's unbelievable. But as someone who collects crosses and plays with the ball at his feet and distributes, it does put the fear in me. And I think it puts the fear in his defenders as well. So it's a question for Erik ten Hag and whether he makes a decision to get a more modern style goalkeeper in and maybe sacrifices some of De Gea's big positive sides as a player and his qualities, because we know as a shot stopper it'll be hard to get anyone better, but someone to distribute the ball, is that so important to Erik ten Hag that he needs to move on to a different keeper? I think it potentially could be the fact as well, especially when you see Martinez is so good on the ball. As you need kind of that unity within the back line. Dallow's good on the ball. I think Malassi's pretty good on the ball. So you need that unity in the back line to kind of help that happen. So I think in January, that's definitely one to watch out for with David De Gea and see what happens with that. But we got brought down back to earth a little bit with Jude Bellingham. Like we got brought back down to earth yesterday against Manchester City. The Jude Bellingham situation. Honestly, this is how... Because, I mean, even I get naive sometimes and I get excited about things and I kind of live in this little dream world sometimes. And like a few weeks ago, when we're beating Arsenal, beat Liverpool, I was like, yeah, if we make top 4 this season, we could definitely go in for Jude Bellingham in the summer. I think it's definitely an option for us. And then Fabrizio comes on the show today after we just got battered 6-3 off Man City and basically says it's going to be a very, very hard race. And I think it's going to be a difficult one to win for Manchester United, which we all know is the case. The fact of the matter is we've missed out on players like Erling Haaland and we missed out on Darwin Núñez because of this. Potentially could be not the worst thing in the world, even though I actually do think there is a player in Núñez and I would have been starting him if I was Klopp at the weekend, but that's a different story for another day. But with the likes of these players, we're missing out on these options. One, because we didn't get top 4, but 2, because everybody knows the state of our club now and the realistic stance of the Glazers and the fact that they don't run the club in the best way. A footballer wants to come to a club that's run in a very good way and that wants to win stuff. Erik ten Hag is an attractive manager, don't get me wrong, but we have to get top 4 this year to stand any chance. And even if we get top 4, there's still going to be clubs above us. Liverpool, even though they've been poor this year, don't write them off yet. And they've got Klopp, who's a renowned, well-known manager for being one of the best managers in the world. Obviously, with Manchester City, for me, I might be naive in saying this because Manchester City are obviously the best team in the league and probably the world, if I'm being honest with you. But the only thing about me, if I was a player, I'd be thinking if I go there, there is not 100% chance that I'm going to be getting into this team. And even if I am getting into this team, I'm going to be rotated a lot. And it depends what the player wants. As a player, for me, I would really want, I would want to win stuff, but game time would be so important to be an important part of that team. You look at players like Jack Grealish, even though he had a good performance yesterday, does he really feel part maybe of the Man City team that, like, for example, that won the league last year? He wasn't really as involved as a lot of other players. Calvin Phillips made that move to City. He's had injuries, yeah, but personally for me, with Rodri there, I don't think he'll get a look in. I mean, Jude Bellingham is different gravy. If he goes to any team, I feel like he's getting in. So he is like, he's an unbelievable player, but you've got to take into different. I don't think you should write Manchester United off, is all I'm saying, even though that's probably just me coming from a massively biased standpoint. But look, think about it. Chelsea, we'll see what happens with them. They're definitely an option. London is attractive to clubs. I do think Jude Bellingham will come to the Premier League despite Real Madrid massively being in for him. I do think he will come to a Premier League. And I think ultimately it's going to be a race between the clubs that get in the top four. And if Manchester City get involved, that could be a race that quickly is over 100%. And then Woodsy said, face facts, Beth, we are not that club anymore. Yeah, I agree with you. We aren't. We've not got the pull that we used to have. That's why we couldn't get Haaland. That's why we didn't get Nunez. And that's why, if I had to put money on it, I would probably say we would miss out on Jude Bellingham, even though I think that's a player we have to give everything to get. I would love Jude Bellingham at Manchester United. But one, it massively depends on how this season plays out and if we get top four. And two, it depends on if we actually look like a team that's progressing. Jude Bellingham's going to want to join a team that can win the Champions League and win the league. At Manchester United, anywhere near that level at the moment, absolutely not. So we'll have to wait and see. And then on Casimiro, phone just went off then. If you heard that. On Casimiro, we were talking about how Fabrizio's opinion is he should have come straight into the team. I know a lot of you guys would think that as well. Personally, for me, I like the fact he kept players in because they were playing very, very well on form. Now that form has ended, there is no excuse for him not to come into that team. So again, we're going to see Erik ten Hag's thoughts on Casemiro and what he actually sees his position in the team as. I think Erik ten Hag did massively approve this signing. Maybe he didn't go to the board and say, I want Casemiro. He went to the board and said, I want Frankie Young, no other option. We know that. But Casemiro did come up and he will have approved that transfer, I do think. And I think the only reason he's not been getting in is because when he's played, you can see he needs time to adjust to this system and to the Premier League and to the way Man United play. He's not, I don't think, been the best when he's been playing, when he has had them opportunities. But I think as a player, he's absolutely got to play now because McTominay had a very poor game. Casemiro deserves to come in and give him a few games to kind of adjust to that. And I think eventually he will be an unreal player for us. I don't have really any doubts about that because of just what I've seen him do in the past and with things like that. And yeah, we'll have to see. Cody Gakpo, again, is a name that got brought up. And I would say on this one, the only thing that worries me a bit now is the fact we didn't get him in the summer. It worries me because he's going to a World Cup. Apart from Haaland, he's got the most goal contributions in Europe this season, which it was a stat I couldn't really get my head around. He's looked brilliant, and I have been keeping an eye on him actually playing for PSV because he was a player that I really kind of took to in the summer when I was looking at options for Manchester United and was looking at players, and he was a player that I really thought we should have got as well as Anthony for the money that they were asking for him. He's going to be an unbelievable player. He already is a good player. He's going to be an unbelievable player. He's young, he's quick, he's tall. He just looks like he's got everything. And I think he's a player we should have gone for. A lot of you guys were saying it at the time. But in January, I definitely think it's something Man United have to be going for, especially if PSV are opening to sell, which I think they will be from what Romano was saying, that you'll have to see what PSV are open to doing in January. I think they will be open to sell if they get a decent fee for him, which they will. But the only problem is now, if he has a very good World Cup, there's going to be other clubs interested, other clubs potentially coming in for him, which again could hinder us because we're just not in that position where we can afford to wait around for players because of our name and because of how well we're doing. That's something that Manchester City can do right now. That's something that Liverpool can probably still do. But with Man United, it's not the same thing. It's not the giant it used to be. So when we see a talent, we've got to go for that at the time. We can't afford to wait around. And this is one that I think could slip by us, which I think would be really unfortunate. But I hope that in January, that is a player that we do go for. We need a forward player massively. I think he can play as number 9. And I think he will have a good World Cup. He looks very, very, very good. And yeah, there's always players that you're going to miss out on. Timber looks like he's probably going to be one of them, playing absolutely amazing at the moment, even doing well in the Netherlands team. But I massively rate Lisandro Martinez, and I wouldn't change things. I think Lisandro Martinez is an unreal player, and he's fit and he's slotted into United so well. So yeah, there is always going to be players you miss out on. Maybe we go for Timber in the future. He said that. I mean, Romano said that he thinks it's unlikely because of the fee that is going to cost, but we'll have to wait and see. One thing we do know is that Wan-Bissaka is definitely going to be on his way out in January, and that is a fact. Erik ten Hag does not rate him at all. He wants another right back in. He wanted Sergio Dest. It's not a surprise to any of us, but we'll have to see who that is in January. Again, the World Cup, everyone. This is a time to scout players, look at players that could kind of come out of the woodwork and see who could fit into Manchester United's team, because you could see like a competitive right back in the World Cup, which I've said for quite a while now. Wan-Bissaka will definitely be on his way out. And how do you all feel about that, by the way? Do you think in January, let's just ask the chat before I go, in January, what positions would you be going for if Man United did go out there? Would you be going for a striker? Would you be going for a right back? I feel like they're going to be the main two. And I actually do think, and this might just be me again being a little bit naive, I think United have to kind of go for a right back and a striker in January. They have to make a move in January to prove that they're serious. Continue to back Erik ten Hag. I know they spent a lot of money in the summer, but Erik ten Hag's a new manager, and I think he deserves some backing, especially in this. You've got to take into consideration he walked into a squad that was nowhere near it. Nowhere near it. He's got a lot of work to do. So I think he needs as much help as he can get in that department. A centre back, a left wing, a centre mid. I think that's too much for January, if I'm being honest with you, but I like the enthusiasm. What about midfield? I think that'll wait for summer, if I'm being honest with you. And yeah, a lot of people just kind of echoing back. See, a lot of people saying midfield. I think that's one that's definitely going to wait till summer, because Erik ten Hag's going to want the perfect player for that. And that's, for me, looking around, the Jude Bellingham, Frankie de Jong kind of mark of player. Whether we'll be able to get him is a different story. I think United sometimes maybe think they can get these players, and it's not the case at the moment. Striker and right back, yeah, so echoing the same things as me. And then someone also said that we made a mistake not getting Sesko. Another thing I agree with. We should have, I think, bought him for the money. Again, I think it was around 18 million we could have got Sesko for. And he looks brilliant, looks like one for the future. He could have had time in the Europa League. He could have had time off the bench, gives you a different option, someone that can work with Erik ten Hag behind the scenes and adapt to be the perfect striker for him. I was saying at the time we had to go for him. Not taking them risks sometimes doesn't pay off. And I think Sesko is one that will go for quite a bit of money in the future to a pretty good club, a top club actually. So we'll have to see. Someone said Sesko didn't want to come. I think we could have done that deal if we didn't wanted to. If Man United wanted to do that deal, they could have done that deal, but we'll have to see. But yeah, everyone, thank you so much for tuning into the interview and tuning into what Romano had to say and listening to kind of my analysis and also just kind of a little bit of a rant afterwards. It's really good to kind of get on these shows and get your guys' opinions in again. Just seen someone say Mitrovic. He's definitely someone that a lot of people recommended. I know Adam really likes Mitrovic in the moment. For me, I'd much prefer Ivan Toney. But I do like Mitrovic. And then a super chat before we go. Beth, this is on Ten Hag. Let's stop player bashing. He spent over 200 mil. Beth, if he can't cut, he has to go. Seems right. His tact has been very poor. I don't agree with that. I think he's definitely made mistakes. And yesterday, I think there was mistakes made in his management. Absolutely. But I definitely think he's the manager to take Man United to the next level. And he needs full support and full backing off the club and the fans. I do feel like. I think he's the first manager we've had in since Sir Alex. I mean, Mourinho I think we got him a little bit too late, but it's the first manager we've had since Sir Alex that I think he's got real potential if he gets the backing to take us to the next level. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.